There's so much inefficiency in the traditional markets when it comes to research and investing. They're not doing enough research on truly disruptive innovation. And I knew that our stocks were disadvantaged because of it. We're going into a future of autonomous taxi platforms. Tell me how you'd go about figuring out what that looks like. Boom. And it's not really trying to find the answer right then. It's how does this person think? Is this person a critical thinker, a logical thinker? And there are a lot of, in the traditional asset management world, there are a lot of what I call inductive thinkers. They take company information and try and put a picture together. We need both. We need deductive thinkers as a starting point. If they can be both, fantastic. But the deductive thinkers are really good at figuring out how to size markets and to figure out where the unit economics are going to be. The analyst or prospective analyst gets through our director of research, then the analyst usually comes to me. And I am looking for, I don't know, have you heard of, the book Blink? Blink is where there are a lot of subliminal things that you can pick up in an interview. I think that's my role. And it's also, again, about the cultural fit. The body language, appetite for adventure and that sort of thing. The ability to withstand criticism, which of course we get a lot of that. Those are the sorts of questions I'm asking, because by the time they get to me, we know they're a good cultural fit. We know they have powerful intellect, and so there are just a few more things we have to know about them. I would have told you this 3 to 5 years ago too. Our two big bets, I think, at what we've become known for are crypto, and starting with Bitcoin, and then Tesla. Now, more and more people are onto Tesla now. We are not fighting the fight that we were in 2019 when, traditional Wall Street was saying they're going to run out of money and go bankrupt. They'll never be able to scale manufacturing. And here, today, in California, the largest auto market in the United States, Tesla's Model Y and Model 3 are the number 1 and 2 selling cars, not electric vehicles, cars, in the largest state for auto sales. So the next phase of this, though, is autonomous. And this will take Tesla from gross margins in the 20s to gross margins in the 60s or higher, because it's moving into really a software as a service model, transportation as a service. So pretty exciting. But, we've started publishing our models. Tesla was highly misunderstood. We published it on our model on GitHub, so you can find it there. And we've published 2 other models, again, very high conviction, misunderstood stocks. So Zoom is one and Roku is another. So I think that would round out the top 4. Elon Musk is our Renaissance man. He's a genius, and we are so blessed. The world is so blessed to have him. And sure, he creates a lot of controversy, and for Elon at least, there has been no such thing as bad publicity. It's publicity, and it all works. Tesla has not had to spend a dime in advertising. So I think social media has really worked for him. He's a controversial figure. What I love is he says exactly what's on his mind, and he's willing to go against the conventional wisdom. And again, in active management, that's what we need. Well, I think public market investors have it wrong for the most part because they're looking backwards, as I mentioned before. I think private equity or venture capital investors have it more right because they're looking out they're looking to the future, and they're looking long term. So our investment time horizon is 5 years, and we do that for public companies. Most investors are looking at 1 year. Well, if you take a look at the difference between linear growth and exponential growth over 5 years, it's night and day. The numbers will be very, very different. Whereas most investors are just looking at this year, and the base level, if you're comparing an emerging trend to a well-established trend, probably be much more comfortable with the established trend because you're not looking far enough to see the explosive growth trajectories. And it is interesting, even within the private markets, yes, we're seeing significant corrections in some companies' valuations, but not in the truly differentiated, highly differentiated. Sure, some of a correction, but in the public markets, we have seen 80% declines in companies. It's been shocking. I've never seen anything like it, and it makes no sense. So I think that the valuations in the private markets are more in keeping with what we think is going to happen long term. So a 5-year-old, what I would say to a 5-year-old is pretend that the inside of your body is like a big puzzle. And no one's been able to put together this puzzle before. There are 6 billion pieces. You could probably wrap them around the world if you were laying them out straight. That's how complicated the inside of our bodies are. What genomics does is figure out what each of those 6 billion pieces does. Each has a special role in making our body function. And so genomics figures out what each piece means, and is also able to discern when something has gone haywire with one of the pieces of puzzles, like it's not being put in the right way. And with the new technologies, we're able to take that one little piece out of 6 billion and put it back in the right place. In other words, cure disease with gene editing. So that's how I would explain it to a 5-year-old. I didn't mention this in some of our highest conviction names because I only mentioned the ones on which we had published. But if you look in our public portfolios, you'll see that in our flagship portfolio, roughly a third is in the genomic space because we think it is the most misunderstood. I talk about curing disease. CRISPR Therapeutics, very high conviction name, our top gene editing stock, is already curing sickle cell disease and beta thalassemia, where people would have to go into the hospital 17 times a year for blood transfusions. Now they're not going in at all. So that's what we're talking about when we say curing disease.